Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, General Hospital. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Today on General Hospital, Nina hires Rick to help Willow, Laura advises Lulu not to stand in Rocco's way, and Trina comes to a decision about Kai. Isaiah drops by Portia's office and is glad to see she's still here and asks if this means she's not leaving. She says she's still planning on leaving. Isaiah admits she is a big reason he stayed here, and he has never felt as at home at another hospital as he has here. He will miss her. Rocco visits his grandma Laura at her office for a favor. He tells her about emailing Obrecht, who came to Port Charles to see him. He likes her, and his parents freaked out when they found him talking to Obrecht. Laura explains that his parents' relationship with Obrecht is a complicated one. Rocco says he wants to see her again, but he's unsure how to bring it up. Laura says he needs to understand his parents' view on this. Britt stole their embryo, which did lead to the miracle of his birth, but it was very complicated. Putting Britt to the side, Laura says Obrecht has done her fair share of questionable things. Rocco knows, as he saw it all online. Laura does believe people can change, and Obrecht seemed to have changed in the last few years. However, his mom never saw that change. Rocco explains that Obrecht was able to tell him stories about him as a baby that his parents couldn't. Laura suggests he talk to his parents like he did her, and they may understand. At the pool, Maxie, still played by a temporary recast, tells Brooklyn that she opened a can of worms with this Brit situation, and now Obrecht is back. Brooklyn asks why. Lulu appears and says her son contacted Obrecht that it's all Brooklyn's fault. She says she gave Brooklyn her son back, and Gio is a lovely boy, and this is how she repays her. Brooklyn again insists she never meant for Rocco to find out how he did, but that Dante should have told him the truth long ago. Brooklyn tells Lulu she's making more out of Obrecht's return than she needs to be. Maxie plays Switzerland and says Rocco reached out to Obrecht and Rocco is her last connection to Britt. Lulu says Britt is a thief and has no connection to Rocco. Lulu's mom calls and asks to see her. Lulu mentions she'll be there, as nothing she's doing right now is of any matter. Lulu walks off without a word, shocking Maxie. Kai talks with Joss and assumes she's mad at him. Joss is, as he broke Trina's heart. However, perhaps now he's seen the real Drew, given what happened at the wedding. Kai says he's never thought Drew was a saint, but he's the one who ruined his relationship with Trina, not Drew. He did what he did because he believed it was the right thing. Joss says Drew is human garbage, but if he loses Trina, her family, and his friends, well, he'll still have Drew and his principles. Maybe some of his principles will rub off on Drew. Nina takes a meeting with Rick by the pool and asks him to take Willow on as a client and help her get her kids back. She also doesn't want Nina to know she hired him because Willow will refuse her help. Rick says keeping things from Willow might not be the best idea given what happened at the wedding. Nina agrees and says she'll float the idea to her, but if she refuses, then she'll have to keep the truth from Willow. At Aurora, Trina arrives to see her dad. Curtis says something happened that could change things between her and Kai. He fills her in on the wedding blowing up, and perhaps Kai has wised up about Drew and has regrets about how things ended between them. Trina hopes Kai wisens up to Drew, but it doesn't make a difference. He still betrayed her. Curtis asks Trina to keep an open mind, and if she burns bridges, she could miss what is on the other side. She asks what's on the other side. He says forgiveness, another chance, and possibly a future with someone. He says one day she may look back at what could have been, and one day she may need a second chance herself. Trina asks how she knows who is worthy of a second chance. Curtis says it's not easy to know, but she needs to look into Kai's eyes and listen to her heart. Back at the pool, Trina arrives and sees Kai. Meanwhile, Brooklyn thanks Maxie for defending her to Lulu. Maxie says Lulu was in the wrong, but so is she. Brooklyn has been trying to stop the fighting, and she knows this fire between her and Lulu needs to be put out. Lulu arrives at her mom's office. Laura tells her that Rocco was just here, and barring Rocco from seeing Obrecht is a mistake. Laura says Rocco is curious about part of his life he knew nothing about, and she warns her daughter that the more she makes this forbidden, the more he'll seek it out and shut her out in the process. At Liz's, Willow is wearing some of her friend's sweats. She tells Liz that she's had a good night's sleep and is seeing things more clearly. Going to Carly's was a mistake, as was her relationship with Drew. They sit down for breakfast, and Willow doesn't understand how Nina could do this to her. Liz isn't excusing Nina's actions, but perhaps she thought she was protecting her child. Willow says Nina claimed she was going to tell her, and thank God Curtis told her. She says this is like Shiloh and Harmony all over again, and the truth was all there all along about Drew, and she just didn't see it. She says Drew ruined her life, and she let him do it. Nina drops by later with clothes for Willow. Willow tells Liz that she can come in, so Liz leaves them. Willow says Nina is only seeing her because she needs clothes, and what she did was disgusting. She's done having both her and Drew in her ear, so what happens next is for her to decide, and it's all up to her now. Nina says she tried to tell her and that she wanted to. Willow doesn't care, and if she had told her the truth from the beginning, then she wouldn't have lost her kids, and things with Michael wouldn't have gotten so bad. She tells Nina that she's as much to blame for her losing her kids as Drew is. She then shows Nina the door. Outside, Nina texts Rick. Rick drops by later. He tells Willow that he wanted to check on her, but also wanted to see her as her lawyer. He will continue to help her with the custody case, and he'll do this pro bono. Willow thanks him and asks what the best way for her to get custody of her kids back. He tells her that for now, she doesn't do anything. Rick explains that her credibility is damaged, so we have to wait until October. They will argue that her breakdowns were due to extreme circumstances. The time gives them a chance to build a case and show Michael that she can play by the rules. He knows she can do this and will check in on her from time to time. Rick leaves. Willow thanks Liz for everything and decides to take a walk. Nina heads to the pool and reconnects with Maxie. Maxie can't believe how everything that blew up during her trip to New York. Maxie also hates to say "I told you so," but this could have been avoided if Nina had come clean a year ago. Maxie asks why she decided to tell Willow the truth on her wedding day. Meanwhile, Trina wonders if Kai has seen that he was wrong about Drew. Kai says he still believes what he did was the right thing, and even if he regrets it, I don't think it'll change anything between them. Trina can't believe he still hasn't seen Drew for who he is, and she can't forgive him for betraying her parents. Nothing has changed for them, and Trina walks away. Rocco comes to work and checks on Brooklyn, who is still hanging around. He thanks her and says that if not for her, he wouldn't know he had another mother. Portia stops by Curtis's office and says she can't keep living in limbo with this threat of Drew destroying her life. She got them into this, so she's getting them out. She's submitting her resignation today. At the Quartermans, Drew visits Michael and thanks him for seeing him. He tells Michael that everything with Willow, Wiley, and Amelia is over. Michael says, "So after you destroyed his family and everyone else's lives, now you're giving up on Willow?" Drew says he's not, but he's loving her the only way he can. Michael tells him that he's not noble, so cut the act. Drew says Michael got what he wanted. Willow is alone, and he's out of the picture, so let her be with her kids. He asks Michael to talk to Diane and settle this out of court. Michael feels he can't take that risk right now, not after what Willow did last night. Drew asks what happened, so Michael fills him in on her state last night and how she scared Wiley. Drew again asks Michael to give Willow a chance, but Michael wonders why he'd listen to anything he has to say again. Drew says he never meant to hurt him, just like Michael never meant to hurt Chase when he fell in love with Willow. Drew says there's just something about Willow. Michael says Drew is capable of lying to him, just as he is to Willow, and he knows Drew is the reason Willow couldn't see him in Germany. He can see the truth on his face. Michael becomes angry and says if they had seen one another, they could have reached a compromise, and all this pain would have been spared. Drew asks Michael if he could imagine his life without his mother. He tells him now to think about his kids and their mother. He asks Michael to do the right thing for them and walks out. In Laura's office, Lulu says she's being dragged back to a time in her life she doesn't want to revisit. Laura understands what that's like, as she's been there with her own child. However, Rocco's growing up and wants to know more about his life. That might bring up uncomfortable conversations for them both. Laura says she got through it, and so will Lulu. It may bring them closer if she supports her son. At the pool, Brooklyn tells Rocco that she never wanted him to see that file. He's glad he did, and he thinks his mom may never have told him the truth. Nina tells Maxie that under Drew's influence, Willow was becoming someone she didn't recognize. She was becoming someone else, and may have done something even worse. She can't tell Maxie what she suspects, but if it came out, Willow would never be able to see her kids again. At the Q's, Willow arrives to see Michael. She says last night was a mistake, and she is sorry. Her mind is clear now, and they are two people who used to love one another before she threw their marriage away. She swears it is over with Drew, so will he let her see the kids? In his office, Curtis tells Portia that we are so close to getting rid of Drew, so don't give up. He's probably going to DC, and we're in the clear, as long as Drew never finds out that he's the one who told Willow the truth. Drew drops by Liz's to try to see Willow. Liz says she's not here, but even if she were, she doesn't think it would be good for them to see one another. Drew says he loves Willow and never wanted her to find out the way she did. Liz says she's sure he was just doing what he thought was best for Willow. Drew puts it together and says he's sure Curtis did.